How's it going, everybody? DJ K DuB Omaha, Wired Access Podcast with the All Axcess Granted.
I didn't want that to be the standard. I didn't want someone else in the room to set the standard. I always wanted to do that.
The journey to get there, I think, is something, that is amazing.
Let's get this podcast started!
That is right. It is Wired Access, All Access Granted. I'm your host, DJ K DuB Omaha. And once again, we greatly appreciate everybody that tunes in, checks us out. And this episode is with 2027 future Nebraska Cornhusker, Trey Taylor. Trey, welcome to the show all the way from Carmel High School in Illinois. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh man, I'm just like yourself. A lot of things out there going on. Of course, last episode that I got to share with the 2027 with you was with your podcast partner, Tay Ellis. So, what is that like just to start that up and really? I mean, you guys are promoting a year and a half in advance. You're trying to get that steam ball rolling. What is that like for you guys to just start out with that? And once again, as I told him, thank you for asking me to help a little bit on my construction and helping you with your Twitch little profile picture, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I would say the biggest thing for us and like why we want to do it is because a lot of people don't get to see us outside of football, right? You guys see us with the pads, you guys see us, serious, like the more intense moments, and that's cool and all, and you really don't get to see us outside of football until we get there. And I feel like the best way to connect with not only fans but also recruits is just to show like, hey, we're out here, we're coming, and we're great football players, but we're also great human beings, and we have a life outside of football. And I think that's just another way to show also Nebraska recruits like, okay, this is what we could be doing. It's not just obviously football is the reason we're there. That's why we're coming to Nebraska. But also, me and Ted, we want to show we can have some fun. We're good people outside of football too and off the field.
Well, and then social media is just continue to grow, continue to develop. How important do you feel that was for your recruitment process and even finding out and choosing Nebraska? Because I've talked to other Illinois athletes. I just had Jordan Westerkamp, a great wide receiver that became a Nebraska Cornhusker. And when he talked to me, he goes, I didn't even know who Nebraska was. I had a zip drive because they didn't have the internet like you have it. How important was the internet for you in your decision or even just getting to know Nebraska?
I mean, for me, I think the internet was, or social media, whatever you want to call it, was very different for me because I feel like it's, I'm playing football in Illinois up north. We're not in California, we're not in Texas, we're out in Florida. So, first of all, I think that's the biggest thing. I was able to put myself out there, put my name out there, make sure people know who I really was, the type of ball player I am. And after that, the schools see it, coaches see it, you kind of start to get in this recruiting process, then you get the offers. And then after that, you really get into. And for Nebraska, it was different. It was more so like I got that offer, I posted it, and all of a sudden the fan base jumped in. And me, I'm very communicative. Like I love talking to people. That's who I am. So I kind of responded back and just had a great connection with the Nebraska fan base. So I think that was huge, just to know like how fast I got welcomed. And then when I get to Nebraska actually, and when I'm able to play in the red and cream and like be able to really show who I am on the field in front of everybody. I think that, it's just going to grow. Our connection is going to grow even better, not with just the fan, the city of Lincoln alone.
Well, and then you came out for the 7-on-7. What was that experience like for you as far as seeing the fans around, seeing the other athletes, not only in state, but out of state. Of course, you started making connections with other future Nebraska athletes. What was that like? Because that's a whole different element that hasn't been there before. Of course, we've had Friday night lights and stuff like that where you get to come to a camp. But to play that 7-on-7 where it's starting to see who has swag and who doesn't, that's kind of been a different game for you.
Yeah, and I think that I mean I've been playing 7-on-7 for years now, and just being able to go out there and in front of in the stadium that you're going to play in the future, and a bunch of fans, like that's the most people I'd say show up to a 7-on-7 just voluntarily. And it was amazing. I mean, first of all, I do like the one thing I really want to do that I haven't really got to do is like huddle is a huge piece of that. Like I really don't think that we get actually I know we don't get almost all those boys there, because if we don't have the huddle event was huge. I mean, people loved it, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, I live by it, I'll die by it. The hardest part is not getting people to fall in love with Nebraska. The hardest part is getting people to Nebraska. People here in Nebraska and they instantly think, no, I'm not going to go there. But, that's why we push, hey, get to campus. They come to campus, they love it, and it's just, that's one thing that I think really flipped the script. And that's why I think the 2027 recruiting class is really going to be different.
Well, and of course, I don't know how long have you been following Nebraska as a brand when it comes to football?
I mean, I've done my research now, so like I've kind of gone all the way back to the national championships, but really just kind of following it on social media once I committed. I mean, I followed all the big, the big news about the whatever it is related to Nebraska, whether it's football, basketball, softball, like I follow all of it just so I can always know what's kind of going on.
Well, I asked that because, of course, like the last push, like I remember the 2024 class, which is a lot more of the local guys who are still there, still committed. That was their push. What do you think and can tell fans? How do you feel this could be different? Now, obviously, this is going to be more outside. We are actually going to have Matt Erickson on here in a couple weeks. That is a future teammate of yours. That's a part of your 2027 class.
Right.
But it was the outside push before and now, or inside push before. Now it's the outside of state. How important do you think that is for the growth of your guys' program?
I mean, when you have kids like Matt and Tori in state and they're committed and they're going great football players and even better, people, when they're in state and committed, it's like you have nothing else to say besides the best players in Nebraska are going to Nebraska. Like there's nothing else to say about that for our class. And then, then you start talking about the outside of Nebraska. Like we got a kid from Texas, Illinois, and North Carolina. Like some of the furthest states away from Nebraska are committed. You know what I'm saying? Like we're all in that outskirts kind of place. So I think that really we're worldwide. I wouldn't say that there's like really a narrowed in place. We're going to go find the best players and we're going to get the best players.
When you look at your recruiting process, how important was the coaching contact for you? And who was the first one to really make that impression to you to say, this is where I want to make home? Of course, you've explained it well about being here is a whole different thing, right? Getting here, once you get here, you're here. But that right. Feeling that you got to feel comfortable to even travel here is a whole different story. What was that like for you?
I mean, I'd say the first coach for me was Coach EJ, running backs coach. He just amazing person. He's my recruiting area, and kicked it off with him right away. But I would say the thing that makes me comfortable is knowing like Coach Rule isn't going anywhere. And the way the offense was looking, as far as like, think about Dylan's play and TJ's play, like they from last year for Dylan to this year was like exceptionally better. So quarterback Coach Thomas, I mean, he's not going anywhere. Offensively, offense looked really good. I mean, think about that. That USC game, like that's a game that just it's football that happens, right? Yeah. So, if we offense looked really good USC, and throughout many weeks before. So I think that knowing that, like, on that offensive side, that like the people that, kind of brought me in and got me there are really going to be there. Receiver from receivers coach to running backs coach to quarterback coach, and even tight ends coach. I would say those coaches there are very consistent with me, and I have a great relationship with them.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought that up because, of course, if you look at the playing styles, I would feel you're kind of a mixture. You have a little bit of TJ. You have some. I mean, if you look at your passing, I mean, man, you passed this last year for almost 82%, 3,500 yards, 38 touchdowns. But you had that running that we saw with Latif that's going to be needed. And I think when you could combine those games, where do you find yourself in that quarterback room amongst those two?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think I got a mixture of both. Where I find myself is kind of hard because, in college football, it's hard to say where you are because, I'm in the room. That's what I can say. Like, I'm in the room. Like, it's obviously competition, but it's brotherly competition. Like, and that's how it is. I view them as, leaders and, mentors, because that's what they will be when I get there. So, I've taken as much information as possible right now whenever I'm there, and I just kind of sit and listen and, try and make sure every time I come back, I'm always picking up, 5 to 10 things.
Well, and I like what you said there as far as the respectable, but I think it explains to people on the outside looking in that you are that guy who can know that you have to continue to learn the game. You're not coming in and you're like, hey, I am QB1. I will be QB1, but you know it will happen when it happens. And you're not like projecting something that I think sometimes athletes can do, even at 4-star, 5-star, that sometimes oversells to the fan base. But I think you're making it more realistic, and I think someone also just posted a good question in one of our YouTubes, and I'll post it up here. They're just curious about how you feel about the new hiring of the offensive coaches and the defensive coaches, and how does that change your idea, or how does it portray you to go, I trust in what Coach Rule's doing. Now I'm gonna learn about these coaches, because of course anybody can put anything in front of you, but until you actually go learn it and realize what they're trying to accomplish, what's your thoughts on that?
And if I'm going to be 100% honest, like we got the offensive line coach. I saw some stats on him. We got the new defensive coordinator, saw some stats on him and wrapped it up. Like, Coach Rule got them for a reason. It's because they're going to do what they need to do to make sure the job is done to the best of their ability. And, and I think that's all I got to say about it. Like, Coach Rule, he has a certain level of trust for me that people don't really see. So, like, and they never will, and honestly. So, like, my trust level with him is, out of 10 to 12. And, if he says jump, I ask how high, because that's kind of how he is. He's been through it. He's been to the highest levels. He knows what it takes to get there. He knows what coaches are looking for because he has been a head coach in the NFL. So, whatever he says to do, that's my goal is to do it.
Now, of course, in your area, you got other big colleges that have probably asked about you and looked around, and you see things going in the right way. Why Nebraska?
I mean, honestly, my connections. I mean, connections, and I know that I'll get the most developed here. Coach Thomas, Coach Holgerson, Coach Rule, Coach Shorts, Coach EJ, like, they've all had the best at their position, right? And they all know what the best looks like, and they know how to push, the player to be the best. So I think that what it is I think that they are going to push me to be the best that I can be, and the best that I can be will end up being like the best in the country. And I think that they can get me there. And I think they can get me to the league. And I just have a different level of, like, outside of football connections with all the coaches. And last thing would be, was like, as far as schooling wise, like, they have everything I need. So everything I need and want to go into, they have. so I have no stress levels there. Like I'd go there and take the class.
Nice. Of course, you know, when you look across the board with the social media, there's a lot of talk, a lot of ups, downs. How do you keep yourself level keen when it comes to of course, the outliers, whether it is people who think they know rule, who think they know what Dylan's doing, and how do you get that for you and just know what you're going to read into and what you're going to watch? Because I think sometimes it can be overshadowed. I mean, there's people still out there sharing a parody account that says, you know, so and so's gone, and it's like, are you guys like not really looking? How do you control it as a young man?
I mean, I would say just as athletes, right? We're put in a position where we can always get the answers. You know, yeah, if there's something that's tweeted out there, posted or whatever, you know, you see it, you kind of wonder. There's always you're usually always a call or two away from getting what the real answer is. So I feel like that's kind of pushed to a different level of when people say, don't let Twitter and social media get to you. It's like, you know, you can be on it, you can see it. It's a matter of mentally, how are you going to take the hate? Because with all the love that you get as playing a quarterback at such a high level, you also are going to get a ton of hate. All the rumors, all that, like, I mean, for me, like there was rumors about me, I put them to sleep right away. You know, I feel like social media is kind of just another thing that should be there for fun. And some athletes take it as way too serious. And it's just kind of like, you know, you put yourself in the situation and the stereotype of athletes shouldn't be on social media. They need to delete everything because it's going to get to their brain. For me, I think it's different.
When you look in your interstate and you look at your school and you look at everything that you've accomplished, what's the one thing you're leaving this next year and going to be able to do? I think when you accept and commit to somewhere, that makes it where you get to play a little looser. And maybe that is some of the things that leads you to the success that you have. What's your thoughts on that with having that part of your high school done? I know where I'm going.
Yeah. And that was kind of the mindset last year. Like, I know where I'm going. I was able to be home all summer. I went to the Nebraska camps. I went to Nebraska for a full week, you know, but besides that, during the weekdays, I was home. I got to work with my guys, I was in the weight room, speed room, and it all showed off. But I think that the difference then was, you know, I was working and training out to be the best high school player, and I think I did a good job with that. I think that I definitely put my name in some conversations that people didn't think I was going to this year. And, you know, this coming up this next year, like, for me, it's not about, you know, I want to get ready for, you know, the greatest high school season ever. Like, I'm getting ready for freshman year of college. And, like, I want to get my body ready and, you know, most prepared for, you know, because in you know, a year and a week from now, I'll be stepping onto campus, and physically I need to be prepared.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up a subject that I think sometimes parents and sometimes athletes don't always understand. And that's what we always love to do on Wired Access, is if we can connect to one parent, one athlete that says, I want to be a part of that 1%. What's a part of that 1% that people don't know about? Let's just say your schedule. I mean, you and I have went back and forth multiple times just to get even 30 minutes, let alone an hour or whatever we got. People don't understand how hard it is to be Trae or any athlete that wants to be who you are or trying to be.
And I think that my schedule is a little bit different from other kids, because what I naturally am is I'm naturally and these are my God-given ability, talents. I'm naturally a good thrower, and I'm naturally really smart and can process stuff. But I'm not naturally strong. I'm not naturally fast. So that stuff all came with work, right? So I wake up. I'm up at about 4:45 in the morning. I'm doing an hour Zoom call of watching film, breaking down defenses, until about 6. Then 6 to 6:45, I'm getting ready for school. I get to school about 7:25, take a before school class. Then I'm in school from 7:30 to 8, I take a before school class. Then from 8 to 3:10, I'm in school. Then from 3:30 to 4:15, I'm working out at the school with my teammates. Then on Tuesdays, I have speed training after at 6 o'clock to 7:45, and then on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sundays, I'm lifting again. So I'm lifting 2 times a day, 2 times a day, twice out the weekdays. So I mean, it really just varies and depends, because some nights I could easily be in bed by 10. Some nights I could easily be in bed by 11:30, 12. So and then redo the whole thing the next day. And a lot of people can sit here and think that that's a lot, but like when you're used to it and you're putting your body through it, like, and you're seeing the benefits, like there's some stuff that you have to, it's sacrifice really. And, the biggest thing that I would say hit me and just kind of made me want to start to really push myself to the next limit/level this year is, the realization that people around the world, around the country have the same goal and dream as me, but I got to figure out what I'm going to do to make a difference.
When you look at that quarterback room and you said that you have some relationships, what's some of the stuff that even people at a college level have shared with you that maybe that one bit of motivation, or where have you gotten all your information for yourself to go, this is what I have to do to get there? Not everybody has the resources. Not everybody has that person they could go to.
Honestly, I would say my dad. He went through the process. He was a college athlete, went to Eastern Illinois, got to go to the Packers, got that experience. But, that was kind of, I feel like him, because he's been through it, right? There's not a lot of people you can find in your life that's really been through it. And luckily for me, like my whole coaching staff's been through it at my high school. My dad's been through it. My quarter trainer's been through it. I've got buddies going through it right now. Like, so you think of it and you start to realize, like, all right, this is getting passed down to me for a reason. I just have to execute on every little thing that they give me.
Was there any other sport growing up that you loved that you might have had to give up because you wanted this dream? And when did you finally decide to make that? The famous saying is, the cliche is, everybody's time is different. When was it for you?
So basketball was the sport originally for me. Like, I was going to be a basketball player, I felt like. And then I got that first offer in 7th grade. I was like, yeah, I'm still going to be a basketball player. Like, I was really good at basketball. I loved what I was doing. And then COVID hit and like it shut down everything. Couldn't go to gyms, couldn't go to parks, couldn't do anything like that. Like, so I'm in my house doing drops, just practicing throwing a ball with my mom. Like, and I got so good at it because I was doing it all the time. So I was like, all right, like football is my thing. Like, so I played my last year of 8th grade basketball, stopped right after that, went into high school football. And like, I would say, I did drops on like you wear socks on a hardwood floor, it's slippery. I did drops. That's what helped me with balance and, being able to move my feet so fast. I was just practicing like throwing a towel. So doing my throw motion, throwing a towel. I mean, easy enough as that. And then we got a Vertimax in the garage, jump in, all explosive stuff. Like, and it just kind of started building up more and more. And, you could always go out with your homeboy and go throw a ball, but going out to a park and shooting a basketball with a hoop that was cut off the backboard was hard because everybody was trying to stay quarantined, yet we were still going outside getting working.
And of course, when you look at these past 2 years and really your growth and development, what do you credit that to? And what's something that you would pass on to other athletes that want to get to that level that you wish you knew as a freshman?
I would say the biggest thing for me was weight room. I mean, weight room and speed and agility room. Listen, I would say learn as many defenses as you can going into high school football. Learn timing and all that. But you can read a defense all you want. You can throw a pretty ball all you want. But if you can't stand in a pocket and take a hit while delivering a ball, or if you can't run up in the pocket and take a hit while throwing the ball, or if you can't go run for 15 yards on a 3rd and 8, then quarterback isn't for you, because physically you'll break down, but mentally you'll be okay. Like freshman year, that was me. Like physically, I wasn't there yet. Sophomore year, I felt like I was there, but not really. Like I could take some hits and deliver the ball sometimes. In junior year, like you'll see a bunch of clips of me getting rocked, like just completely off of my feet, and still being able to get the ball where it needs to be, tight spiral with as much velocity. So, and just the common composure, knowing like, all right, if I take this hit, I'm gonna get up and be fine.
Of course, you look at all the development and everything going on for the Huskers offense. How do you feel your offense currently relates to it? And what's some things that you're going to have to add to your repertoire? Of course, you did show a strong RPO. You showed a strong being able to step up in the pocket and take off when needed. But what's some things that you feel you might have to really hone in on this next year to prepare you, like you said, for your freshman year?
For me, I think the biggest thing is, you're looking at a play, right? And you kind of go, so a lot of our plays right now are for high school, at least for me, it's like full read plays. Like you go from here to here to here to here if you don't have that, or you could go from here to here to check down to run, or here to here and run. I think for the biggest thing for Nebraska is like coming off of the play action back turn and going from the high post to and finding the crossing route coming over. Like people don't realize that's hard. Like your eyes aren't on that crosser the whole time, and what comes with that is timing, knowing where they're at, knowing where they're gonna be. So I mean, I feel like that's gonna be the biggest thing, and then just certain kind of touch things. You could always practice touch, whether you're putting some more on it or you're trying to take some off. I feel like that's the biggest. Those are the two biggest things I'm gonna work on as far as gameplay.
When you look from season 1 to season 2 for even the leader in your own locker room coming up with Raiola, what's some things that you saw that really turns it on for you to see that development? I mean, from a fan's point of view, I coached high school football here locally for 8 years, but what's some of the things that you saw that you really saw that is the development that I can take in and grow? Because I could tell you, if anybody saw last year to this year, you made it big right there. You said a lot of the reads and stuff like that. What was your biggest eye on that you saw?
I mean, I would say the biggest thing for him was that he just felt more comfortable. Like it looked like he felt more comfortable, and like that's the biggest thing. Like if you don't look comfortable, you could throw for 300 yards, and if you look like you're out of order or uncomfortable, people immediately know there's something wrong. People immediately think that you are not having the best game. I think that he just looked more comfortable this year, and I think that's because he was more comfortable and like just seeing the field. And part of that perks to Coach Thomas and Coach Hogerson. They did a great job with that.
Of course, you look at this 2026 year for yourself, and you look at what is going to happen. What's kind of your thoughts for your school coming up for your senior year? Of course, I know you're preparing for outside, but you still have your teammates that are counting on you to be that leader. What are you looking to improve on and show that you can do your senior year at high school?
I would just say, take everything that I did this year and upgrade it to a different level. I mean, trying to be identical to what I was last year is going to be hard. I mean, like you said, like we
82%.
I say we had 19% total passes dropped to the ground. Like that's literally unheard of. That's unheard of. So trying to be that perfect again is going to be, I feel like it would hurt us more than anything. I think that the biggest part is just knowing like, all right, this is a new group. We can go out here. We'll stretch this field. The goal again, we got great athletes, is get the ball from the center's hands to my hands to your hands as in the short amount of time as possible. So, and I think that overall it's just going to be go out there and continue to win games. And that's the mindset we had this year. And, everything great just came with that.
Of course, you were here for the big Thanksgiving weekend. What was your best part about that week? Of course, the game didn't go the way we wanted it, but you're a guy who's consistently looking around what's going on around you. You're not just locked into the score. You see what's going on. What'd you really like about that whole week being here?
I mean, first off, stadium was full again. I would say that just gets me every time. But also, just seeing that people might say, well, our record and this and that. Guys, you don't understand what this team went through. Like, we lose Dylan in a very important game. TJ does a great job. Like, I give 100% perks to him, because here's what I'll say. We can say Penn State, all this, all that. Penn State's got at least 3 first-round picks on that D-line, on that defense. Like, Penn State is an elite team, right? Iowa is an elite team. You know, UCLA is an elite team, and that was his first ever start. People forget, Iowa was TJ's first ever home game start. Like, that's different. That's a different feel, right? So I give 100% perks to everything that coaching staff has done and poured into this offense. Like, I will back them 100% on everything that happened this season.
Well, of course, we'll get you out of here on this because, of course, you got some is it going to be the Behind the Hashes? Is that what you got going on?
Yeah, so Behind the Hashes, yes, me and Tay, we have a meeting with some guy. He really wants to kind of help enhance our next little video. So it'll quick little meeting here, and then we'll be posting on Sunday night, Monday morning, and it'll be really good.
Of course, you can find them on Twitch, YouTube, and all social media. If there's 27 class made out there and they're looking for a school, what's your message to them? And then also to the fan base, what should they know about this 2027 class as we get you out of here on this?
If there's a 27 out there and, you're being recruited by us, the best decision you can make is come to Nebraska. Like, it's bigger than football. It's a brotherhood. And I think that's shown within me and Tay's podcast. And I think that's shown within the building. I mean, you don't go there and not feel loved. And Nebraska fans for this 2027 class, like I said this when I was going to commit. I said, I'm going to build this class to be what I want it to be. And I think that so far I've done a great job about that. And not only have I had great supporting cast with you guys, but also you guys are the reason why we have Tays and Mears and Matts and Tories. And, not only are they helping, but they're also going out and finding more boys that we didn't even know about.
Well, I greatly appreciate your time. I know that I'll get to share your story, of course, on social media, and we'll have to catch up another time when you got more time. But, Trey, thanks for your time, and go Big Red, baby. Go get you some.
Go Big Red.
All right. Once again, man, I appreciate everybody that's checking out and seeing what we do here. Of course, that 27 class really captured my eye and just of what they were looking to do. And, and they were so receptive to the fans. I mean, if you've been to the Husker games, you guys have seen it. They want to be there. And I think you're seeing a lot of things on the sideline that is portraying into the players that want to be there. And a lot of people talk, about transfer portal, all this and that. And, unfortunately in this day and age, each to their own. Everybody does it with coaches. They do it with jobs. You do it with life. I mean, this kid right here, he has said he wants to be here and he's going to do everything to stay here. Make sure to follow all of those 2027 players, especially if you're on X. If you're not on X, I don't know what you're thinking, because I could tell you when it comes to athletes and it comes to sports, that is where it's still at. I know people are like, oh, I don't have it. It's out. It's gone. No, it's still there. And that's how, this show, All Axcess Granted, thanks to Adam Carricker and Carricker Chronicles, you can find this series on there. And then, of course, locally here in Omaha, where I'm kind of from, you have the Omaha Beef, who have supported the StreamYard. because I do their podcast. So make sure to check that out. Primetime Beef Huddle, and just know that m- I might as well share it here. When people go, what is it that you love to do, or what do you do? And my goal has always been a positive person, and if you don't have anything good to say about these athletes, just leave it off of messaging them. They're 17, 18-year-old kids who are making the biggest decision of their life. It's not going to change who you are. It's not going to make you any better if they decide to come to Nebraska or go elsewhere, but it's also just the fact of these are hard decisions. And when you look at a player that gets to go to college and play ball, you're a one percenter. That percent just gets lower and lower as they go level and level. And I think sometimes as fans or as people, we forget about that. And then there's still those athletes that are out there and they don't get those opportunities at D1s, and some that even lose the love or the heart to want to do sports and at that level because maybe they weren't recruited, maybe they didn't get a highlight video, maybe they didn't get everything they wanted. But of course, whether it's football, basketball, softball, volleyball, all those sports, there's opportunities out there. You just have to get in front of the right person, and that's what I really try to do on X. If you don't follow Wired Access, I hope you do after this, because my goal is always to share and hope that it reaches one parent, one athlete. And I got a message today, and I'm gonna have this athlete hopefully on next week. But this athlete, the dad reached out and just said, "Hey, I've seen what you do, and I'll go to local games and I share what I see. It's black or white. There is no like hyping up something that if someone's not into it or isn't even trying, it isn't like, as the famous saying, trying to turn, poop into this big gold nugget here. There is no shining like that. But you never know what influence or help you can be with just liking or sharing one athlete's post, whether they're uncommitted, committed, because then it just pushes it out to more people. Well, I had a father reach out. I went and watched the game, and I got film for both sides, and I created, a couple highlights for both. And his stepdaughter had no college offers, had no college anything going on. And the message I got today was she is committing tomorrow to a college locally here in within the state next to us in Iowa. She's getting to play the sport she loves. And all it was because people shared her journey of that single game, and maybe they were eyeing her before, I don't know, but it just put her in front of the right eye. And now she has an opportunity to play the game she loved, but just didn't get the right publicity and the right thing. And of course, the message that I want to say with that is not everybody has the backing like a Trey Taylor. I mean, he was very honest. He said his dad played college, played NFL. He was a big person that pushed this understanding. If you know anybody that needs that push or guidance or a little bit more info, or check out this, refer them to people that are doing that right thing, not those parody accounts that are trying to take people down, or even the ones that question someone's stars. Like I've seen that as well, those keyboard warriors. And I say it because it's just not right. Like I've seen a keyboard warrior talk about, I can't believe this guy is a 4-star or whatever star they are. And he puts up a video of mistakes they made, and that was his go-to. And I reached out one time and I just said, what did you get from that? Those athletes don't make up their stars. Please understand that, folks. The athlete does not get to say, I'm a 4-star, 5-star. They're not the ones making the judgment. It's the people that are posting it. So if you feel an athlete might not be at the star rating, and it doesn't matter in the we've seen successful 4-stars, we've seen successful no stars with no offers. If you feel you need to be that one to tear them down, just reach out to the people that put that 4th star on there. Ask them what they saw. don't post to a 17, 18-year-old kid and try to push them down. That's I don't know. Maybe I'm on a soapbox, maybe I'm not, but I greatly appreciate anybody that likes, follows, shares Wired Access, because my goal is always just share these athletes' stories, because hopefully there is a something in their story that someone will find, whether it's the hardest thing that they had to go through. When they look back at their freshman self, what could they change? And everybody always grows up, and your parents are saying those 4 years will fly by. You're right, they do fly by. But with the right help or the right person showing you what you could do in those 4 years, compared to just going through the motions, because if you think a coach will get you better at a high school level, they don't have enough time. They're not doubting you. They're not pushing you back. They're going to help you, but they cannot make you great. They cannot. They just don't have enough time in the day, because they have you and all the other athletes. They're going to do the best they can. So you've got to find your way outside of that, whether it's through workouts, like Trae advised, whether it's workouts through speed, agility, weight room, and if you can't afford things, because that is a real topic as the world gets more expensive, just know if you have a broomstick, you have something you could step over as a hurdle. Is it on the ground? Yeah, it's on the ground, but it still gives you something. You could go left to right on it. You can go front to back on it. There are things you could do with a simple broomstick that could help you out to get faster, whatever it is. But, I appreciate your guys' support. I'm very, very, very interested to see this 2027 class come in. Yes, I know we got to get through 26, and 26 is going to be a great year, because these athletes have stuck around through some turbulation that could push other people out, as you can see is happening at Iowa State. I just saw some local kids pull their commitment from that college. Why? That coach moved on. That coach moved on. And you know what doesn't always go with them? Your offer. So hopefully you find your heart. And I feel bad for those kids, because they committed just last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. They committed. They made a major statement saying they're coming. And then all of a sudden, whoop, carpet just pulled out on them. And yes, I get it. Coaches can move. You are correct. But you just sold all those kids an empty bag, is what I'll call it, because now if they are committed to you, and you know what, I'm going to throw this out there, Matt. I appreciate you tuning in. Let's get Huskers that committed to Iowa State, because there are some kids that are Nebraska kids that committed to Iowa State that could come back. And never say never. The 26 class I don't think was full, but just remember, you weren't there the first time. So how would they feel about that? How would they feel about that? So they might not feel the same way. They might not feel the same love, but I think Rule is a straight shooter. And I talked about it with Michael Rose Ivy last week. I think he's a straight shooter, that he's going to let you know what he's really thinking. He's not going to beat around the bush, try to make you happy. And for those who think Dayton left because, he just left because he ain't happy, I think Rule let him know what it's really going to be like coming to Nebraska. And the playing opportunity might not be what you want. And if I'm a kid like Dayton, I want to play, right? Who doesn't want to have that opportunity to play? Well, that quarterback room is tight. And especially if Dylan and Latif, and then you got 2027 with Trae, and, that's a tight room. And yes, you want the competition. But if you're not at the 4 or 5-star athlete, it's going to be hard to play at Nebraska as a quarterback, because they are starting to pull those type of quarterbacks. So that's all I got on that. I know I kind of went through a bunch there and kind of went through hoops, but again, I appreciate everybody that supports Wired Access. Be on the lookout for the plug and play player, the game chain coming out here. We're going to head out to some basketball. Make sure to get those votes in. We're going to be out there for some wrestling coming up. I just needed a couple weeks off to kind of get reset for the long football season. And speaking of that, I want to give another shout out to those who really supported Senate Sandbar in Papillion, Nebraska. They supported during the football season, the plug and play coverage. They were the sponsor of that. And then Achieve Physical Therapy. And I really love that place because that Brian and his team has worked with athletes on so many levels. And the best part is, as a physical therapist who Brian is, he used to play college ball. I think when you have those connections with a physical therapist who has lived those connections, if you are a football player and you utilize them, it just turns it up a little bit because then they're more than just that physical therapist. They can be a therapist. And that was something that I've talked to Brian before down there at Achieve Physical Therapy. So make sure to check those two businesses out because he was powering the plug and play player of the game. And I appreciate all those athletes, man. What I really loved is there was some that made it hard to not choose them. And of course, the other one just kind of lit up a little bit more. But, when people see that you're out there just doing nothing but promoting good for these athletes, they just want to perform, man. They just want to perform and they want you to see them. They're out there, man. Go have fun. And I don't work with Character. Great question, Matt. Character Chronicles, I did, release an episode with Adam Character. We were talking because he liked one of my posts and reshared it, and I just kind of reached out to him and he's like, "What all you got going on?" And I'm very blessed. Heard at Sports gave me 2 years of 48 episodes with Wired Access Podcasts. This year they had to cut it back, and I can't blame them. I mean, 24 is still a lot. And I'm very blessed to say, Heard at Sports, they got my podcast up and running after I had a year off from the radio. So I'm very blessed. Thank you, Heard at Sports. Make sure to check them out. And but then when they did that 24, I was like, you know what? I could still do this 24 myself. And then started recording on location with some athletes, and you can go back and watch. I got Darian Jones. I have AJ Jackson from Millard South. Um, you know, I got some of them on, some local athletes who are committed, and that's always my rule. If I'm going to talk to an athlete, I need you to be committed to high school because I don't want to interrupt with that. It's a very stressful situation. I want to talk about the greatness of you doing that. And then Character asked what I was doing. I told him, and he goes, "Would you like to join Character Chronicles?" And I said, "Yeah, I would love to." And it just kind of pushed me even more to reach out to other Huskers, of course, because maybe that's a little more of what this brand is, some of it, but it is just sharing kids that are connected to Nebraska in some way, whether they are committed to Nebraska, whether they're in Nebraska and going outside of Nebraska, because I will never, ever, ever, ever hate on a kid that is not choosing Nebraska because maybe Nebraska didn't choose them. Okay. And that's the thing that I always stress to these kids. So I love to share stories no matter where they are, as long as they have some connection to the state. And I think that's what Adam really liked. And of course, we shared his story. And, when I got to share his story, it hit hard. It was talking about the things that could really turn dirty when it comes to having an NFL career or when you decide you want to end it. And if you haven't seen it, make sure to go check it out. But then right after that, I mean, I've had Jordan Westerkamp. I had Jamarcus Hardrick. I mean, that dude's up in the CFL just making a name for himself. 3 CFL championships. Jared Tomich, just some names from different eras. And man, I'm loving this ride, and I appreciate anybody that continues to check out what we do because of you guys checking it out and enjoying the stories. It just pushes those stories a little bit more for myself. And I know every day that I'm blessed because of these opportunities. And I can't do it without you guys checking them out, sharing, liking. And make sure to follow all those socials. They're all there on the bottom. But we can't do it with without you, the people that are watching, asking the questions, being partake. And just know I do about 3 to 4 podcasts a week, whether it's this with All Axcess Granted. I still do Wired Access, and I still do Primetime Beef Huddle. Why? Because the Omaha Beef are here local. They have been in the championship the past 5 years. Tommy Armstrong, that's right, former Husker Tommy Armstrong, not only won back-to-back MVP and championship, but when you get to know these athletes off the field, it's a whole nother ballgame, man. You find out how real they are, and kind of like what Trae said of why go check out Beyond the Hashes. They're just starting out, but their biggest thing is the fact that they want you to get to know these athletes off the field. And I think that's what I love, even with the Primetime Beef Huddle, is I'll bring the players on and kind of get you to understand that depending on the level you're at, the money doesn't mean that it makes up your lifestyle or make up everything. The game they get to play is what they get to play and they enjoy. But it doesn't mean that they're always making those millions. And I think when you think of NIL and you think of what NFL pays, everybody thinks it's this, that's what everything is. But as you go below the NFL with the UFL, CFL, Arena League, and all that, the money just starts going the other way, and these athletes are still getting to play the game they love, but they got to work for it. They got to work outside. They got to do real jobs. They got to, have stuff that keeps them where, one, they get to enjoy what they do and love what they do, but they still have to have real life. And especially with the way money's going, I mean, it's not getting any cheaper for them. So, make sure to check out all these episodes and everything we do, because why? Wired Access. That's what we are and who we are. And if you're looking to be on a future one and you're an athlete that knows who I am, reach out to me. wiredaccess@gmail.com, or on the Twitter, or on my phone numbers everywhere. I mean, I appreciate it, man. Just continuously growing. And we'll catch you guys next episode. Next week, I will have Matt Erickson on, is my number one goal, and that's another 2027. And then after that, I think we're going to have Jarek Hudson, who is a volleyball player from Papio South, committed. And these kids are just showing that they are working hard outside. So why not share their story inside and kind of share some things that what it takes to be these people. And you'll find out they're more like you and I than you think. They just have that one little competitive edge of, do you want it? And what are you going to sacrifice to get it? That's the same message they always pass. Anyways, we'll see you guys next time. And check out Thursday Night Live. Thursday Night Live, Wired Access, host here, DJ K DuB Omaha, is going to be on Primetime Beef Huddle for those Omaha Beef fans. We appreciate you. And we'll see you guys next time.
The standard is the standard. We set the standard.